welcome back to my channel. My name's Lena. This is Lena's Bookshelf, and today we're going to do a book haul. So let's see if I can hold up these books, but these are all of the books that I've hauled within the last like 3 weeks. So here we go. Oh my gosh, it's not even gonna fit in the frame. So we're gonna go through these with you. These are, like I said, I think these are all the books that I've gotten in the last like 3 weeks. So I actually typically don't haul this many books. I'm actually trying to read to zero currently. My friend Jacqueline from the channel, Jacqueline, she is doing a reading to zero challenge where she's trying to read all the unread books on her shelf and prioritize those instead of getting new books. And I've been trying to do the same thing, and I've been doing pretty well. So far, I have been bringing in less than I'm reading and taking out. So it's also really helping me refine my bookshelf and help me like unhaul some of the books that maybe I am just kind of realizing I'm not going to read. But let's get into these. These are some different books, and some of these I've actually read before, and I just hauled them because I wanted physical copies. So we'll go through those. So first on the top here, I have Always Watching by Chevy Stevens. So when I bought this, I thought it was Dark Roads. Dark Roads is the buddy read that my friend Jacqueline is doing on her Patreon book read. And so I was like, oh, well, Dark Roads is on Scribd, and here it is. So I'll just get it in both. And then I realized it's not Dark Roads, it's Always Watching. So I don't really know how that happened. So now I have Always Watching. We'll see if I actually pick this up. I did not like Dark Roads. I gave it 2 stars. So yeah, we'll see if I actually end up picking up that one. Next, we have The Buddha in the Attic by Julie Otsuka. So this book, my friend Gwen from the channel Gwendolyn Kensinger, she recommended to me The Swimmers by Julie Otsuka, and she writes like contemporary. Gwen had recommended The Swimmers to me, but it's kind of hard to find. And so I looked up this author, and when I looked it up on Amazon, it was like $5. So I went ahead and ordered it. And then when I was at a used book sale, I looked for her other books, but I only saw this one. So I wasn't able to find The Swimmers, but I am interested in picking that one up at some point too. So this is short. It's a really short book. It's only 130 pages. So I'll probably save this until I have like a readathon or something like that, so I can just quickly knock that out. The next book we have here is The Perfect Nanny. I got this for $6.95 from Second & Charles. And it seemed kind of interesting. It seemed like one of those like kind of creepy, slow burn thrillers about a nanny that becomes obsessed with the kids. This is also pretty short. It's only about 220 pages. So I'm excited to pick this one up. Seems like a very tense, slow burn. Next book that I got is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. I've been interested in this book for a long time. Ever since I first learned about it on BookTube, I've wanted to read it. I was just kind of waiting for the perfect time. And so I found this for $8.50, and I thought, that's a perfect time. And it's a really good copy. Like, it's in pretty much perfect condition. So I don't know a whole lot about these. I feel like I remember people saying that this is kind of like Groundhog Day. Like, this person keeps dying and she wakes up the day before, keeps waking up after she dies. And so she tries to make sure she doesn't die and things like that.
I don't know, I'm probably not explaining that well at all.
But if you've seen the movie Groundhog Day, I'm pretty sure that's similar to this. So yeah, I'm excited to pick this up, but it is long. It's like 460 pages. So the next book that I got is If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. This I kind of picked up on a whim from Target, and I'm pretty sure I paid like full price for it, which I don't typically do, but I got this book because last month on my Facebook book club, we did like a murder mystery challenge. And one of the like first prompts, like in the first 5 prompts, it was read a fairy tale retelling. And I was like,
I don't do that.
So I've never done that before. And that to me just sounds like fantasy and I don't know. And so I saw somebody, they were commenting on the Facebook page and they were like, hey, give me some recommendations. And somebody recommended this one. And so I remember, like, I looked on Scribd, I didn't find it. I looked for a couple others. I found another one on Scribd that I thought I would read and it would be fine. It was like a Little Red Riding Hood retelling or something. But then when I was walking through Target, I cannot go to Target without running through the book section just real quick, and I saw this one and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the book. That's the book that they were recommending. And so I just kind of bought it sight unseen because I knew it was a Cinderella retelling. But I kind of like this. And if there was another book, One to Watch, that's kind of similar to this, this is basically this girl, Cindy. She goes on this bachelor type show and with her stepsisters, and her stepmother is actually one of the directors, and they're all dating this one guy, the prince. And so it's pretty similar to that show, One to Watch. She's also plus size, just like the character in One to Watch. But what I liked about this one is that it wasn't like your typical Cinderella. It like had some twists. And also I really liked that she was so close with her stepmother and her stepsisters. And there was like a couple of other step siblings as well. And so I liked that twist on it, where it wasn't the evil stepmother, the wicked stepsisters. Like everybody loved each other and was supporting each other. And it was very sweet. And she's obsessed with shoes in the book. So that kind of ties in the Cinderella thing too. So yeah, so it was fine. I think I gave it 3 stars. Not really into romances as much. I don't think I would pick up another fairy tale retelling, but this was fun. It was cute. I read it on the plane to Vegas. So that's like a fun little memory. And I think I'll keep it for a while just because now when I look at this, I think of going to Vegas for work. So, okay, the next book we have is The Haunting of Maddie Clare by Simone St. James. And I've read now 3 Simone St. James. I've read The Sundown Motel and The Broken Girls, and I just finished the Book of Cold Cases. And I like all 3 of them. But this is her first book. This is her very first book. And there's some paranormal aspects in her book. As you can see, like the haunting, it's kind of a given. But recently this book just got a new cover. And so I don't know if maybe that's why this was so cheap, but I got this book for $2.95. So maybe because they're like, it has a new cover now, and so they don't want to sell this one. But I don't really know anything about it. I just know that there's a barn that's haunted because somebody committed suicide in it. That's really all I know about it. But like I said, I've given everything by Simone St. James that I've read either a 4 or a 5 star. So we'll see if this continues with that. Okay, the next 3 books I have actually already read. They are Jodi Picoult books, and I freaking love Jodi Picoult. She is one of my favorite authors. I've been reading Jodi Picoult forever. I remember being in like middle school and my sister read My Sister's Keeper, and I remember sneaking into her room and reading it because I wasn't supposed to, because my mom thought I was too little to read that book, but I did it anyway, and I fell in love with it. And then after that, every year when her book would come out, my sister would get it and she would read it, and then she would give it to me to read. These were some of my favorites that I had originally read on Audible, and so I didn't have a physical copy. And I have I have a whole shelf of Jodi Picoult, and I wanted to kind of have most of her collection, at least the ones that I love. There's a couple like Harvesting the Heart and Songs of the Humpback Whale that like I don't really care about and I wouldn't really care to own a copy of, but then there's a couple that I wanted to own the copy of. So the first one is Leaving Time. This one is about Jenna, who goes to Africa and is working with elephants, and I learned a lot about elephants. Elephants are my favorite animal, so that was super fun. I also read this right before I went to Thailand and got to go to an elephant refuge, which was super fun. I got to feed them and watch them paint and stuff, so that was really fun. So good memories along with this book. And I've reread that, or re-listened to it on Audible, so I'm happy to have the physical copy of that. The next one we have here is Small Great Things. I also listened to this twice on Audible. I basically, as soon as I finished it, I started back over at the beginning. This is about a labor and delivery nurse. She's a black nurse, and she is told by this white family, they said, we don't want you touching our baby. We don't want you working with our baby. And then the baby ends up having a crisis, and she kind of has that moral dilemma, like, do I obey what they said, which is don't touch my baby, or do I save this baby's life? And so she saved the baby's life, and then they got really mad at her. So this is one of my favorite Jodi Picoult books. I'll have to do a video ranking all of my Jodi Picoult books, kind of like my favorite to my least favorite. And this would definitely be in top 5. So, and there's a lot of books, so top 5 is pretty high up there. So I'm excited to have this and maybe loan it out to some friends and things like that. The next book I have is Salem Falls, and this one I was kind of surprised that I liked so much. And it's about this like little diner in this little town called Salem Falls, and I don't really want to give too much away because The cool thing about Jodi Picoult's synopses on the back of her books is that they are pretty vague, so you don't really know what you're getting into, which I think is good because I think sometimes people read synopsis and be like, oh no, I wouldn't like that. And if I knew what this book was about before I read it, I would have been like, no, I don't like that. I think there's like these teenage girls that are you think they're in this like weird cult and you're not really sure what's going on. And so it was good. I don't really want to say too much more because, like I said, I don't want people to be like, oh, I wouldn't like that, because I would have thought the same thing. So just read it, trust me. Okay, so those three, like I said, I've already read. So now we're back to ones that I have not read yet. Well, mostly ones that I haven't read. So we have At the Water's Edge by Sarah Gruen. And Sarah Gruen has written one of my favorite books, which is Water for Elephants. And I'm not super into historical fiction, but Water for Elephants is one of my favorite books. And so when I saw this for $2.25, I was like, yeah, even if I don't like it, like, it's $2.25. It's based in 1945, which is, I think, kind of the similar time frame that Water for Elephants is. And it has to do with the Loch Ness Monster and Scottish Highlands, and I'm Scottish and I love Scottish heritage. I love Outlander, and so I'm really excited to read this one. And Jodi Picoult blurbs it, so yeah, it says author of Leaving Time and the author of The Help, which I also loved The Help, Catherine Stockett. So blurb by two authors of books that I've really loved. So I'm excited to pick this one up and try it. I'm thinking I might do a historical fiction vlog since it's a little bit out of my comfort zone, so stay tuned. Next book I have had recommended to me a bunch, and that is The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. And this is a memoir about a girl whose family was kind of abusive, and she just kind of grew up and they didn't really want her. And she lives in Virginia, which I think is pretty cool because that's where I live. So like I said, my friend Jacqueline has recommended this to me and a couple of other people. I've heard some ladies in my book club talk about it too, so I'm really excited. I usually really like memoirs, especially memoirs of like people that came from really tough backgrounds and then really like learned from that and grew from that and became like really successful people. So excited about that one. The next book I have is The Guilt Trip by Sandy Jones. And so this one I got as the quarterly book from my friend Jacqueline as part of her Patreon. Certain tiers can get a book from their wish list quarterly. So this is the one that I got, and I'm very excited to read it. I've read one other Sandy Jones book, and it was The Other Woman. And I know Jacqueline, it's one of her favorites. My friend Gwen just read it and she liked it. This seems to be pretty similar to The Guest List by Lucy Foley, Lucy Foley. And so this seems like a pretty similar premise, and I liked that one. And so yeah, so this will be cool. It's about like a weekend away with friends and their secrets. So I'm excited to read this one. The next two books that I got were my Book of the Month picks. So I've been a Book of the Month member since like 2016. It's my favorite. So for this month, my pick was Like a Sister by Kelly Garrett. And I don't know much about this. I think it's something about like this woman dies and then they're just like, oh, she committed suicide. And then her sister was like, no, there's something else going on here. So she's trying to figure out the truth and what actually happened to her sister. It's not listed as a thriller on Goodreads, it's listed as a mystery. So I need to remember that in my head, because sometimes I go into mysteries thinking they're going to be thrillers because somebody told me they were going to be thrillers. So I need to remember this is a mystery, don't expect a thriller. And then the book that I added on to my box was We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lange, and Lange? I don't know how to say the last name, Lange. And this is kind of like a family drama. I thought this was nice. I love books about adult siblings trying to kind of navigate their relationships. I'm glad I read it. It was cute. I read it for my Facebook book club's book of like monthly pick. So there's like a book discussion on it and everything. So yeah, it's nice. I think I'll recommend this to my aunt. My aunt is a huge reader. She kind of got me into reading a long time ago, and she and I always talk about book picks and stuff. So I think I'll recommend this to her because I think she'll really like it. Whew. Of course, my battery died. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next video.